1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the Rob Newman podcast.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to another edition of the CCM podcast. Today, in the series of interviews of me asking 10 questions to my 10 favorite people, I'm interviewing Lisa Birtles. Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, good morning, Rob. Thank you for having me on today. So I'm Lisa Birtles and my business is called the Resourceful Partnership. I'm a business change and transformation consultant, and I work with lots of different types of people, from large corporates to privately funding individuals and small business owners. And I help them to troubleshoot and to drive really positive change in their business.
That sounds like some really interesting work that you're doing. Have you been badly affected during this pandemic?
Well, I have been affected in one way, because there were quite a few leadership programs that I was due to teach on. Quite often, other businesses hire me as an associate, and what's happened is they've either been postponed because the client organisations just didn't have the technology and the infrastructure to cope with it, or they brought it back in-house. So I did lose probably about 10 days worth, I would say, of leadership training, which was a shame.
It is. I mean, is your work quite hands-on in person that you do, or is it more at a distance or anyway?
Well, it can be either, to be honest, Rob. And really, over the last 2 to 3 years, I've really honed the art of working virtually. The last really big client assignment I worked on before all of this began was a global virtual team, and it must have been about 6 to 8 months before the whole team of us met face to face. Individuals had met, but
that must be really weird to do. I've never done a project at that scale where I've never met anybody. It must be really weird.
Well, I don't know, it's something that you just get used to, really. I think, with the technology that we've got, you can build, you have to work on building rapport and trust, obviously. And of course, pairs of us had met, so I would have met one-to-one with most of the people. But before we all got together, it was a good 8 to 9 months, yeah. But it works. It still works.
How do you tend to do that? I know this isn't part of my 10 questions. I'm just generally interested in what you do. How do you actually work like that? The tech, are you using Zoom as we are today? Are you on Teams? Is it bespoke software? Just the good old fashioned telephone? What are you actually doing?
Yeah, mostly it was Skype, which predated obviously Microsoft Teams.
I was going to say Skype totally lost or Microsoft lost it with that, didn't they? I mean, there's no other thing where you use Skype. Well, I suppose Hoover, where you use it as a verb to actually describe something and then go something different. You go, let's Skype each other on Zoom.
Yeah,
I mean, they totally lost the plot. If you were using that for those sort of projects, they've totally lost the lead they had.
Well, yeah, and actually, a lot of it was audio only as well in those days. We use and I'm just talking a couple of years ago, but now virtually everything is on video conference.
Right. Yeah. So are you? Sorry, I interrupted you. And as you know, Lisa, we've known each other a while. You know, I love the sound of my own voice here, and I interrupted you perfectly in the middle of it. You were saying Skype into Teams. Is Teams the main platform you use for that?
With my main client at the moment, yes, we're using Teams. However, a couple of weeks ago, we did some large broadcasts to several hundred people. We were going live from we went live from Zoom to Workplace, which is the work-related version of Facebook.
Okay.
Zoom is the strongest, the most stable, the most flexible platform, because it allows you to do things like breakout rooms as well. So Zoom is the go-to, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone from never having used Zoom ever to spending 7 hours a day on it at this stage. In 8 weeks, 9 weeks, it's incredible how it's taken off for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that leads nicely into the next part of what I wanted to talk to you about is, do you see your business model going to be different going forward? Are you going to be integrating even more into video conferencing and Zoom and even less in person?
Yes is the short answer to that, and it will be national. It'll be based it'll be UK, but it just will be global as well.
Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. So my business started to change probably in January 2019. It started to change because I had all of my eggs in one basket, let's say, Rob. I was all in with one client. I was working more than 5 days a week for them. It was a global virtual project, and then actually said client's bosses decided to restructure the business.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
it was pulled for all of us. Okay, so we've kind of we've all gone our separate ways, and then we've kind of reconnected. So my clients are working with me in a different way now in their new organisations. But
Right.
I had to start to make some changes to my business model anyway, and so two big things have changed really. One is that I have much more a portfolio approach now, and I would recommend that to any business.
Wholly say, I've got to say, the accountant in me screams when you say you concentrated on things at the time. It's so much less risk to portfolio, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good for you as well, because it makes sure that you don't lose sight of what's going on around you. When you're working on one program, one project, you just become, it's almost like tunnel vision.
Yep.
And in many ways, that's how I operate. I get totally immersed in the clients that I work with. That's how I deliver the results that I do. But you can get tunnel vision, and you come out again, and you kind of look around like a little mole, I suppose. like, oh, what's been going on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, crikey, there's a big world. Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely portfolio approach. But I've, over the last 10 months, I've been working with a coach for myself and my business, and we've been looking at ways in which I can reach a wider audience, but with that, from the comfort of my home office, and doing that virtually is exactly the way that I'm going to be doing it.
That's really interesting stuff, because I mean, I've talked to you in depth about some of the work that you actually do with people, and I find it both fascinating and really enlightening. What sort of things do you see yourself offering going forward, and how could that help small business owners that for example, I work with?
So what I see myself offering actually are taking all the things that I've learnt over many years of work.
I was going to say, you're only 21, so it can't be that long. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say I had a milestone birthday in January this year. So taking kind of all of that stuff and looking at packaging it up in a way that it can be of practical use to smaller business owners. So I'm going to be making available masterclasses and programs, most likely 100-day programs. There's something magical about 100 days. Sometimes people talk about 90-day goals, but 100 days works for me. And if you think about where you could be in 100 days time, if you really, really focused on
transformational.
Yeah,
completely.
So those are the kinds of programs I'm going to be putting together, and there'll be opportunities to kind of, really kind of focus in on one area of your business or your life actually as a leader, or really look holistically, because for me, what I've learned actually is it's not one thing that business owners need to do, or when they're making a change, it's lots and lots of smaller things that all combine to make that really big difference.
100%. Absolutely. It's amazing how some small things, I'm a huge advocate for this with people I talk to. Even something as simple as making sure you drink 2 liters of water a day can change someone's experience of being a small business owner. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I've lived it.
Doesn't sound ridiculous at all to me, because I was lucky enough to be introduced to some fantastic performance consultants. I bet it's 10 years ago now. And it was a business formed by an amazing guy called Scott Pelton, who was the fire chief of the Arizona Fire Service. And he met a marketing professional at what do you call it? One of those rehabilitation places, actually. And they put together this business, and they have a really balanced model for resilience, and it includes your mindset, movement, nutrition, and recovery. And nutrition, where do they always start? But with hydration.
Yep.
It's life-changing to just do what you said.
Oh, it's really simple stuff can make such a huge difference to it. And, you know, I went through a phase myself in the early 2000s where I paid no attention to my own well-being whatsoever, and, you know, molded myself into a leather chair and ate donuts all day and piled on weight and drank coffee. And just by making some simple steps of drinking water instead of coffee, swapping out the donuts for apples, and actually getting 30 minutes of walking. I don't mean you have to go to the gym and be a gym bunny of doing high intensity stuff. It transformed my experience of day-to-day life. Stress levels came down, everything changed. And it's so simplistic, it sounds ridiculous, but that type of thing that you're talking of there, I hugely promote to small business owners, the people I work with. And I really would urge them to talk to you about some of your programs that you offer, because I know when we've spoken to each other, some of the work you do is fantastic, and people have a habit of thinking it's only for corporates.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with self-funding individuals. You know, sometimes, so a lot of the time, business owners and corporates will want to work with me, and I work with them and their teams. But sometimes, actually, people don't want their boss to know that they're working with me, because they you know, for lots of different reasons, and they come to me on a self-funding basis. One of my longest standing clients actually has been working with me for a while on that basis, and we absolutely look at everything, and it's about getting you in the very best shape to do your best work.
Yep.
Bring your A game for
Yep.
for your clients, of whatever it is that you do.
Yeah. Oh, hugely believe that. I really look forward to seeing some of the new product that you're going to put out there, and I'd like to bring you back when you're ready to put you out onto this. I mean, we're very fortunate on this podcast. We're getting about 300 listens a time and growing, and I would urge any of the listeners of this to make contact with you. What's the best way of doing it? Do you want them to sort of look through LinkedIn? Do you have a website? How would they get in touch?
So I'm spending quite a lot of time on LinkedIn at the moment. So LinkedIn, Lisa Birtles, that you can find me on there. I'm also on Twitter at Lisa B the Coach. Rob obviously has my contact details if people want to kind of make a more direct approach. So yeah. Are
you okay for me to give out your email address if people ask for it?
I absolutely am. That's no problem.
Fantastic. That'd be great. I would urge people to contact you, because I think there's some great work that you're doing there. Switching slightly, I'm going to ask you to blow your own trumpet for a second here. What is your proudest professional achievement that you?
So there are two that really, really stand out for me, and there's kind of probably a theme in both of them. So one of them it takes us back to about 2010, and I was actually working in a global virtual team. I was employed at this point. So I was working in a change and transformation role, and I was working with a global virtual team of peers, and we had to deliver an organizational change, and it was actually merging together two really large organizations. They were both kind of technology and IT organizations. Mm-hmm. And we were waiting for the new leader to come on board. He'd been hired, but he wasn't coming on board for 3 months. And we were working with a bunch of business leaders who were trying to design this new organisation and get ready to deliver it. But in the team of peers that I was working with, one of our, there was a leader of that team, and she was new, and we just weren't getting what we needed from her. And everybody was doing their absolute best, but it just wasn't coming together at all. And so that we started working together in about September. By the time we got to December, it's safe to say we'd broken 2 people in the team, really, really broken them.
Wow. Okay.
I'd been trying to hold it together, but it for everybody. There were lots of late night calls. There was lots of onto to the US, and actually, what it just took was a stop. Let's just stop and see what we can actually do, what we can do to fix this. And it took a lot of courage and a lot of open-mindedness, but it started with a single, really honest conversation between me and the leader of the team. And it was really as honest as the team needs this, I need this, and we're not getting it. What is it that you need? What is it that you're experiencing that you're not getting? And it turns out, really, it had just been a complete kind of misunderstanding and miscommunication. So, once we kind of heard each other and saw each other, and we made the agreement that we really wanted the same thing, and that we had to respect our different styles in working together. Well, we turned it around. We turned it around so amazingly that we delivered this transformation in 4 months, which was unprecedented. It had never been done before. We had no employee relations issues, and this virtual team who was delivering it became one of the most. It's a team of people. We're bonded for life. We're friends for life, and we do anything to help each other. That was how well we managed to turn it around. So I'm really, really super proud of that one.
I understandably so. I mean, that's a hell of a story, just by actually taking that time and having the courage to have such an open conversation. The change.
Yeah, it really was, but it was kind of like there was nothing left to lose, actually. It felt like, but I guess there was risk in it, because
huge risk, absolutely huge risk.
People that we knew, the people that we were working for, knew what was going on. It was really quite public. Everybody could see from the outside that this was really broken. And we had a colleague in Sweden who was so broken she had to go off on sick leave, and we really missed her. But do you know what the solution was in the end? Was actually recognizing that the leader was very much big picture, and she thought we had lots of information that we didn't have, and it was about playing to strengths. It was about recognizing the strengths in the team and allowing people to play to those strengths. It was as simple as that. And it was also about trusting each other, to know that if you'd asked somebody to do something, they were going to get on and they were going to be able to do it. And it was as simple as that. And we moved on from how did we get the thing implemented so quickly. We had daily plan, do, review meetings, and it was half an hour every day, which would save us probably about 40 to 50 emails. And you went on that call whether you had a need or not, and it was just great.
I'm such a believer that this type of stuff needs to be brought more into small business, though, because so many small businesses think that this isn't required of them. And even in small teams, I think it's essential to try and get this type of communication open. It's transformational, isn't it? If you can do that with somebody, to get them to open up and talk to you in that way and get that sort of trust built, it's unbelievable what can be achieved.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Rob, and I think quite often that's the role I play. So I go in and ask questions, and I build trust with individuals, and I start by asking them, what do they want, and what are they not getting right now, and actually always manage to find a way to bring people together, and the way that we bring people together is to focus on the shared goal. It's the thing that they have in common, that they all want, that they're all working towards, and that's the starting point. And it's about really valuing each individual, and enabling them to do their best work, and it works, seems to work for everybody.
I totally agree. I completely. I mean, I've used two very different management styles in my career, the early part of my career to the later part. And the early part of my career was very much the, should we say, dictatorial version of management, compared with how I try and build some sort of consensus nowadays. And my own personal experiences, if you try and approach things as an autocrat, you get nowhere. It fails. To the extent that my own wife used to reckon the original team I had 3 buttons attached to them: no, don't know, ask Rob. And I completely think that was down to the way I went about creating that team, as opposed to them not having the talent to be able to do the job that they were there for. If you compare that with the CCM team of today, who are just amazing and are so good at approaching, tackling problems, and only if needing a decision that is significant to the business, coming back to me. It's the two styles of approach to them are just vast. The result you get is just so different at the end. And I keep saying this, I would urge anybody listening to this to make contact with you. And I really look forward to your product that you're going to put out on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, Rob, think about it. You described sitting in your chair, eating donuts and drinking a lot of coffee. I imagine, with that kind of approach that you just described, you were a person with a lot of big burdens on your shoulders.
Huge.
Like solve.
Yeah.
And that everybody brought all the problems.
Everything. Yeah.
Oh gosh, and I mean, honestly, one of my clients the other day, I asked him how his team was, and he described them as kind of people who were whining a lot and lots of problems. And so we need to find a way to unlock this team and help everybody feel great about what they're doing. And if people feel empowered, if people know the boundaries within which they can make decisions, they're empowered to make decisions and do stuff, then everybody goes away happy, and actually it leaves you as a business leader or the business owner more time and freedom to focus on the things that are really important to you and that you're great at and that you love doing. So it just makes so much sense. And I love helping people unlock this. I love seeing the lights come on in their eyes, and I love seeing what they go on to do when they happen.
I'm with you. I'd love seeing it as well. I love seeing what happens but it's a different mindset that I think particularly small business owners have to try and develop. That they're so used to, it's all my thing, it's all my secret squirrel problems, no one should know anything. It's very difficult for so many of them to actually let go of anything. I would certainly say that's my biggest mistake that I've ever made.
Yeah, and actually, what is it about us that we don't really like asking for help? Well, if I didn't like asking for help now, then I wouldn't have probably met you and your team, Rob. And and I know that there are specialists in your team who can help me with all the different kind of business issues I need to tackle. But if there's one bit of advice I would offer to small business owners, it is get yourself a coach or a mentor.
Yep.
And I don't mean, when I say a mentor, I mean probably someone that you pay to be your mentor.
Yep.
Because you will get that objectivity, you will get that tough love, you will get an accountability partner, you'll get an expert. I've invested in this for myself, and it has been transformational. What we've been able to unlock in me and my business, and I just I don't know how people cope without one, to be honest.
Wholly agree.
Yeah.
I think there's so many, that's why so many go off track. I mean, my own experience is most small businesses don't close for financial reasons. Some do, some it's financial reasons. Most of the time it's the business owner has become so frazzled by the day-to-day fight that they're going through with no clarity of direction that they just give up and just go, do you know what? I'm going to go and get a job. I'm going back into employment. It's easier.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And if you were to ask me about kind of mistakes I've made in the past.
Which was my next question.
Well, one of them, so two things. One of them's absolutely listen to my gut more, much more. There were decisions that I made, and there was a job in particular, or two jobs that I went into, and if I'd listened to my gut niggling at me through the recruitment and the kind of courting process, I would never have taken the job. And it would have stopped me from walking out after a few months with no job to go to.
Yep.
Much to the horror of my husband. Second one would have been actually to hold my nerve.
Yep.
And that's how I mean holding my nerve as a small business owner, because I was consulting for a client and the daily rate work was coming to an end, and they loved me and they offered me a job.
Right. That's always encouraging. That gives a lot of confidence to you.
It's great. I actually get offered jobs quite a lot, to be honest with you. But I was worried. I thought, I'm not going to, this contract's coming to an end. I'm not going to be working with this client. So I took the job.
Right.
The consultant working alongside me that I brought in, she carried on daily rate consulting until the end of the year. And, I worked for this client for in this job for 18 months. And, it was a mistake. I should have stayed as I was. And it would have been the best thing for them, and it would have been the best thing for me. So if you're kind of grappling with that kind of decision of what to do, once you've worked for yourself, it's super hard to go to working for someone else.
Yeah, it is.
You went
it is.
Place, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody listening to this is in that position, give Rob a call, give me a call, and we would really be happy to kind of talk to you about it and what is right for you, because
I always say that to people, and it's so nice for you to hear, to offer it as well. It's not about, in my world, it's not just about doing the accounts or the tax side of it. I mean, I'm a business owner myself, and the psychology of business owning and what you go through is unknowable to those who haven't been there. And like you just said, if you've crossed over and done it, I think it's so difficult to go back, because it's as if you've seen the world from a different view. Yeah,
absolutely. But it comes back to that whole thing, Rob, of if you've not got a coach or a thought partner or a mentor that you can really trust, you internalize everything, and you don't always make the best decisions. So it's great to have that external perspective. So I say to everybody listening, make sure you've got that. And I really don't think it should be your spouse necessarily.
Definitely not. It shouldn't. I mean, my own wife is amazing and is so supportive and has been with me through all sorts of things, but they're too close.
Yeah, they are. Your spouse, your parents, your best friend. There's an unconscious bias in there. They're too close. They're not the right people to be having those kind of conversations with. And actually, it is, as a business owner, it's nice to be able to close the door sometimes and just go and have a lovely time with your loved ones, and not be kind of carrying that around. So that's another reason why it's good to get that external perspective.
I know your time is really precious. I know you've got loads to do, but I've got one more question for you, and then I will let you go. In your industry, if there's one thing you could change, what would it be?
I think it would be to really. So I was thinking about what is my industry. So kind of the function that I kind of spent a long time in was HR, human resources. I think the one thing that I'd love to see that function change would be to really see the whole person, and to value diversity much, much more. I know it sounds like I'm jumping on a very topical bandwagon. I'm actually not. I'm talking about all forms of diversity. I'm talking about gender. I'm also talking about neurodiversity. And I'm talking about diversity in style and approach.
Yep.
And I've seen some absolutely amazing leaders and individuals who have been ostracized, ridiculed, bullied, all manner of things by their colleagues in senior leadership teams because they didn't happen to be the same or operate in exactly the same way as they did. So a lot of the work I do is around team effectiveness and about building a really balanced team that has skills and strengths in right across the team and allowing people to play to those. And so I'd really like to see my industry, my professions do is value that, not just on paper, but in practice, and to really kind of allow themselves to go through that comfort of actually embracing and working with people in a way that's a little bit different to the way that you might prefer, because you get the very best out of people when you do that.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm going to wrap up this at this stage. Please do stay on the line. We'll just catch up with each other after the recording goes, but I really appreciate this interview. Thank you so much. And for all the listeners, I will see you again shortly with interviews of 10 people I love with 10 questions. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Please remember that all of the views and opinions expressed by Rob are personal opinions and not professional advice.